Well, I mean, there's a huge lobbying effort all the time, and GE participates in that through our GE PAC on what our position is on various global standards around environmental compliance. We feel that that's, again, the best way to participate through those lobbying efforts, and our leaders travel abroad to drive their opinions as well. Just 3 months ago, when Hillary Clinton was here in South Africa, we had a contingent of GE leaders that participated with her to give their views on, at least in Africa and in South Africa in particular, what we saw as priorities that we wanted to see her be an advocate for. We have large gatherings in Washington, D.C., again, where we drive our positions. So we can't create the legislation and we can't force countries to do things that don't make sense to them, but we definitely put a huge effort out. Maybe the one thing that I'll add, though, is, around the world, depending on how developed the country is economically, the attitude around environmental and safety issues is very, very different. I can tell you in the state of California in the United States, businesses feel like it's very, very difficult to be successful there because of all the regulatory and environmental guidelines that they have to follow. Whereas in Nigeria, infrastructure build is the priority. In China, growth is a priority, and you don't hear as much around the cost of doing business from an environmental point of view. So you're going to have different appetites for just how far these different countries want to go, and even within a country, different states want to go based on their economic situation. One of the things we're most proud of, again, in our company is that the products that we produce are really at the heart of the environmental conversation as well. When you're able to implement power, reliable power, there's a lot of generators that get taken offline and other forms of power generation that get taken offline that aren't nearly as efficient and that aren't nearly as clean. All of the consumer products that we produce use less power today than they did years ago. So I think we invest in support of that, and we also lobby in support of it as well. When you start with our basic guidelines around corporate governance, the way we work, we require all of our businesses to, again, strive to meet our global standards. But to participate in this market, the Black Empowerment guidelines also say that you have to localize. We have very standard processes around qualifying suppliers, so we know where they are on day one. But when you combine those two things, qualifying suppliers and working towards being compliant with the Black Empowerment guidelines of South Africa, what we find is we oftentimes have to help. We have to send our GE employees in some cases. Other cases, we send customers that we've had for years that might reside in other parts of the world to come in and help our suppliers to get up to speed. Because there's really no alternative. You can't do business here if you don't have the right profile of suppliers. But you also can't have suppliers that aren't compliant with the way GE works. So something has to give. And the thing that gives is, again, our views that it's a part of the cost of doing business here. So we call on our entire network, our global network, to come in and help. For example, we have a frame manufacturer here that supports our locomotive business. And over the years, as they've evolved from a quality standpoint, We found that we've had to spend a fair amount of time with them using, again, global best practices to help them put better processes in place to ensure proper quality. And it's quite rewarding when you see them improve. And when you see their culture start to evolve so that what they're shipping to our operations around the world is of the best quality of any of our suppliers, as opposed to some of the worst. So we spend a lot of time actively participating. Well, we look at the environmental record of all of our potential suppliers during the qualification process. We look at the safety records of our suppliers during the qualification process, along with so many other things related to financial and technical performance. Suppliers can be disqualified because of their commitment and because of their performance. We have something, and many companies consider the old newspaper test. What if we had a major supplier in Johannesburg or somewhere in South Africa that was polluting, and they were a tier 1, a major supplier to our locomotive business, and they were a major polluter as well. How could we justify the relationship, the business relationship that we have with them? And the short answer is that we can't. So we specifically look at performance, we look at how they rank against their peer group, and just because they score poorly doesn't necessarily mean that they're disqualified. What that might mean is that's where we focus some of our GE resources or our network on helping them to improve. I think the key, though, is that from a leadership standpoint, that the business cares. We don't want to go into a long-term relationship with a business that conceptually and strategically is not interested in the same things that we're interested in. And that's where we draw the line.